after um, I offered to pay for the meal that I and Mr. Andrew McCoss, first Secretary Political at British Embassy, had in the early summer, I think 2004, in the tourist area of Kathmandu, Tamil, in an Italian restaurant that Mr. McCoss had chosen. Obviously, he knew the place for that little operation he had ongoing there. Uh, so when I offered to pay, he was saying, "Oh, it's immoral." I mean, I insisted I would pay for the meal because it was my invitation and it was my third time paying for our meal, including one time with his wife. But that was my offer again for having won the scholarship, but obviously I had not won. Hence the 18 years of this horrific, racist, criminally racist Int'L operation, obviously. So he said, "Oh, it's immoral." I said, I mean, I didn't say anything, but inside I was saying, "Well, Mr. McCoss, everything's immoral, been already done. I mean, I've been sold now. With this Nepal Intel already identified me, my life is never going to be peaceful here. And since you are Intel, it's never going to be peaceful in UK as well." And it was never peaceful. But I mean, I'll get to that in another video. But I pretended that it was never affected me. I mean, I didn't allow it to affect me. I mean, I would go around buy stuff. I mean, three times, four times expensive. I mean, I was half the stipend money from the account would be taken off. I mean, even inside university campus, University of Warwick, in the Roots building main dining hall, I'd be charged double. I mean, the capacity to turn entire state into a criminally racist, sadistically criminal society is just mind-numbing, mind-boggling. But I mean, over the 18 years, over 2 decades now, I've come to understand that's the way it is. All the states are run basically as a personal criminal fiefdom by the real estate behind the scene, the intel security, as I put it, police pimp criminal continuum. So, so I mean, we left. I mean, I knew. I mean, there was no option whatsoever for me to have any other recourse. I mean, I couldn't stay on. I mean, I was already identified. I mean, this guy was going for direct rule, and you take care of people, and then not only that, I mean, it was already proven that this guy, the War of Nepal, Gyanendra, had been installed by intelligence agencies of powerful countries, not the least India as well, because without India's approval, even as they say, a mongrel or stray dog on the street does not wag the tail. That's how much control Indians have, and but then obviously they are themselves captive, as this saga has proved. So to their masters, and then hence this scale of horrific operation. So uh, but going back to I mean, after I left Makos, I mean, that was the last time I saw him, and then I still wrote an email saying, it was nice to meet you, thanks for giving me time, it was reassuring and all that. But and then through that email, I mean, he responded to the email giving email address of one Ashish Bhatt, apparently his friend at Oxford, who had been advisor to the first black minister of UK, Paul Boating in Tony Blair government. I mean, I contacted him through him. I went to Disley Park, and that one. I mean, that's on the side that went on, but they still had this horrendous operation ongoing with me, and I wanted to check, I guess, whether I would talk to anybody. I was not that stupid. I mean, I already had assessed how dangerous it was. I mean, having a Nepal military intel come to the restaurant and sit behind me, I mean, it was all telltale. I mean, I had been identified, and then, I would have been gotten right there and then. I wiggled out as I've written, and then, I've talked about it. And then I knew, it was a very uh, I mean, the murderous intent was really clear right then, so I couldn't talk to. I mean, I couldn't possibly, and that's what I have done anyway. I mean, regarding this rape capture state capture saga as well. I mean, I didn't talk to anybody till I started talking in this uh, Twitter and then now in YouTube now. So I mean, I had to have all the you know the sequence of events gathered, and then I mean there are still several unfinished threads in Twitter, but I'll just make it come together. So anyway, I mean it had to be this way. It had to be this way. So, but going back to again the conversation I had, there are two things, both coming from the army, Nepal army source about that royal massacre and how important it was that I had to be treated the way I was. And I've written already in the Twitter. I mean, everywhere. I mean, double charged. I mean, even I mean, as I put it, absolutely a cock block operation. I mean, only last Monday, I was in a cafe by north side, northwest of Glasgow. I mean, where I usually go, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was going to write about it in Twitter. A girl came, young girl came. I don't think she was part of the operation because sometimes, ensnaring, honey trap kind of situation. I mean, that has happened before in starting Australia. So I don't know if it was that, but I mean, I kind of doubted it was that because the girl kept on shifting tables to come close to me. But because usually when they send somebody to try to entrap me and snare me, the girl would come directly sit beside me, or they would have somebody presented there, placed there before I even arrive at the place. Because I mean, I'm already obviously I'm on 24/7 tracking and trailing. So so I mean, the girl was constantly taking. I mean, usually girls do. I mean, I don't mind when they check me out, taking my pic and then stroking her ear, trying to talk to me. But I mean, I felt bad in a way. I mean, I first I completely ignored. I didn't know what it was, but then I thought about it, and then I was just about to talk. On my right, there was a person taking my picture, video, and then when I looked back, he got alerted and tried to smile, and then literally threw himself back into the couch. I could have well taken his responded him, taken his picture image, but I didn't because I mean, there's no point going after everyone. I mean, it's a broad scale operation anyway. So anyway, going back to this, I mean, the reason I had mentioned this, and then it's all telltale sign, and a child could even make this assessment, come to this conclusion that it was a military coup. I mean, I'll get to the why it was military coup, why King Birendra and his entire family needed to be wiped out. I mean, geopolitics is one anyway. I mean, probably Birendra didn't want to uh, go against. He refused to mobilize army as the commander in chief against the Maoist guerrillas at the time. I mean, they were not. Uh, so that's there, and Maoists didn't have any large weaponry at that time. That's very interesting as well. Only after this new guy is installed as king, then they overrun a couple of army barracks and take away weapons, and then weapon buying spree goes through. So it was almost like a choreographed war. And I talked to a colonel later on who became neighbor in in the mansion I had built for the criminal family that was not mine. Later on, I'll come to that around 2010 or something. So the conversation I had, it was not really a war. He had told me to. So so you know, I mean, Belgian government failed on supplying weapons to Nepal army. I mean, lots of money involved, logistics. I mean, that's there. But that I'll cover later. But going back to the conversation that I had with the maternal uncle of the woman who gave birth to me in 2002, I think late spring, early summer, late spring, or mid spring. I think. Uh, I mean, I'm a bit doubtful now. I think it was late spring. I was visiting southern border town of Biratnagar, where, by the way, from where this prostitute that I was heaped on with originated as well. Tragic. I mean, she was captured at the age of 17, and the guy is now a tenured lecturer at the University of Birmingham, the Pimp. I mean, I've written about it. I mean, it's amazing. So anyway, so I had gone to that town where this maternal uncle of the woman who gave birth to me, who had retired as a brigadier general of the army, had been installed as a manager of the family's plastic factory operation. So uh, I'd gone there for a visit, and then one night we had a drink, bit of a drink. I mean, we're not drunk. I mean, just social moderate drinking, and the conversation came along. Obviously, Royal Massacre. I mean, Nepali people and Nepal connected academics. I mean, I'll get to that, including this Oxford guy I've talked to uh, in the Twitter, Nepal expert. I've talked to him too. So there's a very interesting revelation right there, and I've written about it into Twitter thread. Nepal expert, our Nepal expert in Oxford. So, so I asked him, so as an army person, what do you think of what happened? He said, Gyanendra, this war of Nepal, uh, was actually visiting uh, southern part of, in south central part of Nepal called Chitwan, where there is a very world famous national park and a resort town called Saura. So it's a tiger reserve as well, one of the world's last remaining substantial number of Royal Bengal tiger population there, rhinoceroses and Asian elephants. So he was visiting, and he had kind of taken over uh, this nature conservation trust. I mean, he was running it. The government, it was a government trust, but it was his personal fiefdom, King Mahendra Trust for Nature Conservation. It was called KMN, King Mahendra National Trust for Nature Conservation, something like that. So, but anyway, uh, but he was a known smuggler, and uh, on the on violation of CITES, the convention, international convention against trafficking of endangered species. It was actually posted in United Nations Environmental Program, Asia Pacific regional office in Bangkok's website, and also the economic specific economics and social issues specific organization called SCAP, UN SCAP for Asia Pacific, headquartered in Bangkok as well. Both had websites on which this Gyanendra was named as a known smuggler of rhinoceros horns. And that was put there, I mean, probably insultingly as a blackmail, because he was already obviously installed as a international intelligence operation, you know, a chosen asset. That's what That's why I say War of Nepal, installed as a king. So quite insultingly, I mean, it was removed after, I mean, few months, actually 3 4 months, even 2 or 3 at least months after. I mean, I used to frequently check. I mean, it must be still the Wayback Machine, Internet Archive. So taken out. So he was visiting there, and he had apparently taken his nephew at the time to visit Chitwan. I don't know. I mean, the planning must have been made that way, or I mean, obviously it was army backed. I mean, army was paramount. That's why he was made to leave the monarch. I mean, he was dethroned basically. I mean, by army pulling out support right underneath his chair in 2006. So, and then he had to. I mean, he was dethroned altogether in 2008. So army was obviously paramount. So probably it was later let known to him that operation is all go. So apparently, when he was visiting Chitwan, the youngest son of the King Birendra, Nirajan, was visiting with him. This retired Brigadier General Shamsundar Gimiri told me, the maternal uncle of the woman who gave birth to me. But just so, but just uh, day before the massacre, he was sent back, the youngest son, to be murdered, obviously. So this guy, he was telling me this guy knew. So when the news of the massacre came to Chitwan, obviously being a royal prince, I mean, always catered to by Nepal army. So, I mean, these things, words get around, and Nepal is a very leaky place, and people are not professional at all. I mean, they talk to everybody and they let it out. I mean, that's why, I mean, everybody knows it. I mean, the way it's designed is such, obviously. So he told me uh, when the news came, he, uh, he told the Nepal army people to take him to Pokhara. So he stayed there overnight.